Well, good afternoon. It's Dr. Krum. It's about 4 o'clock on Friday. As I said, I wanted to just do a quick, this is just a short video update on your last paper, your last main paper. So just to kind of recap, which is mostly what I'll do in this video, just to give you some last reminders for paper number 5. Remember, your goal with this one is to take a look at those edits that I made, earlier this week, and to just follow through on the edits. And so, as I mentioned in the video that I had put up yesterday, one of the ways to do that, as you're making the edits to transform what you had in paper 4 into this last main essay, would be to go through the smaller edits first. So what I mean by that, especially in the other update I posted yesterday, is you can just click on any of the smaller like sentence level corrections or edits that I made, any of the periods or the commas or things like that. Just take your time with that. And that's a good way to kind of unclutter the document because again, you're still working within the same Google Doc as paper number 4, the earlier draft of this one. But just go through that, take a look at it, look at the sentences. That'll also give you a good sense of some of the more grammatical corrections. As I said in class, I don't really grade on grammar. That's the sort of thing that comes with a lot of practice. And again, as I always say, professional writers work with copy editors and project editors and a lot of folks who help them with the final product before they publish it. And as a student, you don't have the luxury of having that. You've got me and you've got the writing center. So we're sort of your, I guess you could say, our editors. But one of the things I want you to kind of get used to is to identify those little errors yourself. So if you can read through those, you'll kind of see maybe where you have some sentence fragments, run-on sentences, other smaller things. And again, the nice thing about Google Docs is you can just go through the margins and just click on those. And then once those are kind of cleaned up, the next step that you really want to take is looking at the bigger suggestions I've had. For some of you, I've moved paragraphs around. I've made suggestions on reversing the order of certain paragraphs that you had. So that to me would be the next step. Take a look at that next. What are you moving? What are you adding into it? That's something that I've also done on a lot of your papers is making suggestions on what you can add into it, what details you might include. That you maybe didn't have in that earlier draft. And that's the bigger work. So that's the kind of thing that you may want to do after you've gotten rid of those like smaller comments. Let me turn over to the screen share here too for a second, so I can just show you again on the directions some other suggestions I have for you that hopefully will be helpful. And again, we did these also on obviously in class on Monday, but just as another kind of reminder, let me open up the directions here. The other thing that's different than the other papers that we've done so far is, remember, there are these 4 editing or revision questions. So please remember to include those at the beginning of your doc, your final doc for the paper. You can just put your name and, paper number 5, and then just put these questions in first, because as you see, they sort of ask you to go through the edits. What are some of the things that I'm asking to change? How's your thesis, your main idea? Is it there? Is it strong? What are the strengths, weaknesses of these earlier drafts that we've done? So remember, you can just cut and paste these, just take them, cut and paste and put them at the beginning of the document. And that's sort of another editing exercise, sort of reflecting on what it is that you have. And then what changes you're making or you're in the process of making. So again, and it doesn't matter at what step in the process that you do that. You could do it after you've done all your edits and use it as a way to reflect back on the work that you did. You could do it while you're in the middle of doing the editing, take a break, kind of see where you're at, in terms of making the changes. So take your time with that again, and that's designed to also help you get your edits together. So that's an element we didn't use on the earlier papers, on the shorter ones. So remember to include that. The other thing, as we talked about in class on Monday, is there's, as always with all of our directions, there's always this a section at the end on MLA formatting. So this is a good sample paragraph that shows you, how to incorporate a citation, which by now, you're doing well on that. But it's a good reminder to have as you're finishing this paper. And as I said in class on Monday, also take a look at this works cited. This is a sample works cited that includes 3 sort of generic sources. And the reason I put this together, as I said, is that that's what the format looks like for an online or most database articles. You can see this one came out of the database. And then you've got the references also here for Porcelino's book. So all the stories that I scanned from Perfect Example, which include Live Evil, Belmont Harbor, Celebrated Summer, and Escape to Wisconsin, they're all from this book. So they're all different components of that longer narrative, which I think I mentioned. I teach the whole book in English 102. I just do a little couple of excerpts from it. in English 101. So there's that. And then also for Daddy Dozens, I've given you another reference. That one's included on the Poetry Foundation. If you're using Deep in the Homeroom of Doom, this is the correct entry for that. So you've got that sample. And again, it just reminds you to have the works cited there and to have it in MLA format. So if your citations don't look close to this, then you want to make those changes, or ask me if you need help in terms of making the formatting changes. Also remember, for your database articles that you would use or that you're using for these papers, that those citations are built into the database itself. So you just need to click on the citation link when you're looking at your article, and then just cut and paste it. It's very easy, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago in class. So those are some good reminders. Like I said, the directions here for paper 5 are kind of summing up. If you want to look again at the structure, the overall outline structure, remember that's on the directions for the previous paper. I didn't repeat those here, but as I said this week, as you noticed, the midterm, the 4th paper and the 5th paper are the same essay essentially, but just different drafts of the same project, as we kind of slowly add in more material and then edit it as we go. So if you have any questions as you're again going through this editing process and incorporating things, please let me know and I'll be happy to help. So in the meantime, just to kind of give you a little bit of a preview to Monday's class, on Monday, we're going to talk about the very, very last assignment for the class, which is where you get the option of either revising one of the first 3 papers for the class, those shorter ones that we did in June and early July, and there'll be an alternate topic. That's going to be up to you. We'll talk about it more on Monday as to whether you do the new topic that I'll list on the directions, or the revision. I won't post those directions for the very last assignment until Monday afternoon, because I just want you now to be able to focus on paper number 5. So just work on that. It's also the reason that we did the quiz in class on Monday. I'll also have those grades for quiz number 4 posted before Monday's class. I'm finishing those now that I finished all the other papers, the drafts for paper number 5 a few days ago. So now I've started working on the quizzes. So you'll see those grades, before class on Monday. And thanks for the nice work on those too. They've been fun to read. So again, in the meantime, if you do have any questions, send me an email. As usual on Saturdays, as you know, I try to stay away from the computer and from work stuff. But if you do have any other questions and you email me either today, here on Friday, or sometime in the day tomorrow, I'll definitely have any responses or any feedback for you by Sunday. So I hope you have a nice and a safe weekend. Hopefully we'll get some moderation in these kind of hot temperatures we're having. At least the sun's out today, so it looks like it's a beautiful day otherwise. But be safe, have a nice weekend, and I will see you in class on Monday for our last class of the summer semester. So that'll be exciting. And we'll wrap things up by talking about that very last revision assignment that will be due later next week. All right, so I'll see you then, and have a good evening too, and talk to you on Monday. Bye.